All right, Beruchim Habayim. Today we're on the 14th category of mitzvot out of, who remembers how many categories? 14. This is the last category of mitzvot. We started this venture after Pesach. So let's go over the 14 categories of ta'ameh mitzvot, the reasoning of the mitzvot. First, I thought maybe we do it until Shavuot, right? We get a whole overview of the Torah up until Shavuot, but I guess that was a little bit too ambitious. But now we're going to finish in time for, we'll have another summary class next week, right before you guys are off for the summer vacation. It'll be good. We'll finish up next week. Will be preparation also for what happens when we don't follow the mitzvot. A nice class before Tisha B'Av, which is the ultimate consequence. Okay, so the 14th category, women. Oh boy. המצוות שהקבוצה ה-14 כוללת הן אלה שמנינו בספר נשים. Is all the mitzvot regarding relationships with women. ובהלכות איסורי ביאה. הלכות איסורי ביאה are the forbidden relationships which are not in Sefer HaNashim but in Sefer Kedusha. וכלאי בהמה ומצוות מילה בקבוצה זו. And in addition to all these, all the laws pertaining to women that have to do with this 14th category, also Birit Milah is part of that, and that's in Sefer Ahava, and also Kilaim, mixing different animals together. That's also part of this 14th category. Ve'omar, and this is his introduction. He's going to state something that's very, we'll call it fundamental to the human condition. Yadua shehaverim, or chevra, society, or relationships and friendships, right? Hem davar she'adam zakuk lo kol yemei hayav. This is something that man has a need for throughout his entire life, right? There's another chapter he talks about Adam medini mitiv'o. Medini meaning he's political, meaning he's a social being, right? If you take one individual and put him in the jungle, the odds of him surviving are very, very small, right? Yet, us with our relatively frail bodies, weak bodies, right? We're not fast. We don't have the best senses. We're not the strongest. Somehow we dominated the entire world. How do we do that? Through society. As a pack, we are very, very strong, and our brains contribute very much to that. Yes. Aristotle ביאר בספר התשיעי של האתיקה, in the 9th book of ethics, בשעת בריאותו ואושרו הוא נהנה מידידותם, right? When a person is happy and he's doing well, he rejoices in the friendship of people. כשהוא במצוקה הוא פונה אליהם לעזרה, right? When in times of needs, he's able to turn to his society or his friends for their help. ולעת זקנתו וחולשת גופו, and when he gets old and frail and weak, הוא מסתייע בהם, right? He relies on them. עניין זה מצוי יותר וחזק יותר לגבי הילדים. He says this is much stronger connections when, especially this is correct regarding children. וכן לגבי הקרובים, and also with regards to your family relationships. Ha'achva, right? The brotherhood. Ha'ahava ha'adadit, right? Mutual love. Ve'ha'izra ha'adadit, and mutual helping and assistance. Na'asot shlemot rak bekerev krovei mishpacha, right? It's especially strong among your relatives. כך שאם משותף לשבט אחד אב קדמון אחד, so you see, if you see there's a tribe of people, there's many people that they all can associate themselves to one ancestor, even if it's like a few generations, אפילו רחוק, even though it's far, it's 3-4 generations. Like, I don't know, I'm close also with second cousins and third cousins of mine, right? We could trace back our ancestry a bit. נוצרות ביניהם בשל כך אהבה ועזרה הדדית. So they have family connections, and they help each other. וחמלה בין איש לרעהו. And they also have mercy for each other, compassion for each other. Thank you. שהיא הגדולה ביותר ממטרות התורה. And this is one of the greatest objectives of the Torah. All right, so this is like his introduction to the whole 14th category, which mostly has to do with women. Basically, we as human beings, right, we're not individuals, and we have to stop seeing ourselves as individuals, but we are part of a society, right? The Torah comes to teach us how to build a just and prosperous society. And the cornerstone of the society is the relationship between a man and a woman. And we're going to see the family cell is like the fundamental cell that builds up a society. And we're going to see also what happens when that cell is corrupted. מסיבה זו נאסרה הקדשה. Shalom Aleichem. Says, and for this reason, right, of familial relationships, of the family being the cornerstone of society, says, for this reason, the Kedusha, who knows what a Kedusha is? What does it sound like? Kedusha? This is the exact opposite, actually. Prostitutes. Right? It says, for this reason, prostitution is completely forbidden. בשל קלקול הייחוס שיש בך. What is one of the first things that prostitution causes? Bastards. It causes, well, bastards we'll see in the Torah is something a bit different than what most of the world calls. But you're right, it causes fatherless sons, fatherless people. Meaning they have no yichus, they have no family relation. ושהנולד ממנה נוכרי לבני האדם. And the person who is born to prostitution, he's a stranger to men, to all men. אין לו משפחה ידועה מצד אביו, right? He has no family relationship on his father's side. Who knows who the father was? ואף אחד ממשפחתו מצד אביו אינו מכיר אותו. And nobody from his father's lineage even knows him. וזהו המצב הרע ביותר עבורו ועבור אביו. And this is the absolute worst condition a person could be in, where he has no family ties. And by the way, this is also the number one way to destroy a society. And we see that the worst cases of crime in cities are cities that have a culture of, we'll call it baby daddies, where there is no, where the kids have no fathers. יש עניין חשוב אחר בטעם איסור הקדשה. There's also more, there's another time, another reason for the forbidding of prostitution, והוא מניעת ריבוי התאווה ליחסי המין והתמדה בהם. And this is kind of to curb the men's or the people's yetzer for sexual activity, to bring it down a notch. כהתפלגות, כהתחלפות גופי הקדשות מגבירה את התאווה, right? As they have, so many options, you can go to this prostitute and you can go to this prostitute and oh, now I gotta try them all. There's this new redhead one, there's this new blonde one. So we're gonna put it, bring it down a notch. You can't just have relations with everyone you want. משום שעוררותו של אדם מגוף אחד שהתרגל אליו אינה כעוררותו מגופים חדשים, because a person he gets aroused by one person, by one, call it one body, right? And then when he gets used to it, and then he's going to want something else. And as long as you have prostitution available, in plenty, a person, and you're allowed to go to prostitutes, a person will go one day, says, today I'm having pizza, and tomorrow I'm having falafel, and tonight I'll be with a gingy, and next night I'll be with someone else. בעלי צורות ומצבים שונים, ויש באיסור הקדשה תועלת גדולה מאוד, and there's another great, what's it called, no, toilet. Someone help me. What's toilet in English? Benefit. Another great benefit for forbidding prostitution. V'hu meniat merivot. And that is to also avoid conflicts all the time between people. Kilu hayta kedesha muteret, because if it was allowed, haya koreu shayu ponim el isha had kama givarim bevat achat. Right, what would happen is a person, many men would come to this one person and they'd start fighting each other and they'd start getting jealous. V'az lo haya manos miktata, they'd start beating each other up, they have bar fights. Uberov mikrim hayu horgim ze et ze, o horgim ota. And in many cases they would either kill each other, murder each other, or murder her, right, out of jealousy. כדבר הידוע מאז ומתמיד, as known throughout all of history, and unfortunately we can still see that today. ובית זונה יתגודדו, as Jeremiah says, in the house of prostitution, people are always getting into fights. כדי למנוע את המריבות הגדולות האלה, and in order to avoid all of these fights, will have via to'eret klalit, and to bring the general benefit, which is having a lawful society, a prosperous society, right? Via to'eret klili, v'hi yediat hayichus, to know the person's familial relationship. Nesru kedesha v'hakadesh, right? Prostitution was banned for male and females, right? You're not allowed to have, there's no kedesha, mi benot Israel, velo yekadesh mi bnei Israel, and there shouldn't be any male prostitutes either. And by the way, prostitution, according to the Torah, isn't someone who declares themselves in Mas Achnasa as a prostitute, right? It doesn't have to be a business, it's just being promiscuous with sexual relations. Meaning, a kadesh, as far as the Torah is concerned, is someone who every night goes to the bar looking for his next one-night stand. That's also a kadesh. Whether you take payment for it or not, right, that's up to you, right? But as far as the Torah is concerned, whether you take payment or not, it's forbidden. Try to marry for money. No, it's not.
It's not good to do, right?
That's more a personal thing. But we'll see what's the difference between marriage and prostitution.
Have a marriage. Do about everything. Touch.
Well, oh, by the way, all marriage is for money in the end, whether you want it to be or not, right? Whether your motivation was money or not, right? There is a money aspect to marriage.
Marriage, you compete with each other. Prostitute, you.
Right, exactly. Right.
Married, make them mitzvah with 2-3 women.
Yeah, it's allowed. According to the Torah, it's allowed.
What's allowed?
2-3 women, not women with 2-3 men.
The reason why I ask is because I saw in a book, the Rabbi Nachman, where it was saying pretty much if a man marries for money, I forget what it says, but it's like saying it's really bad.
Oh, he's maybe talking from like a moral aspect. We're talking here from a legal aspect. What is the Torah trying to prevent? Well, if you marry for money, it's not good. Like if you're not in love with your wife, it's a problem, right? You're not going to have a good relationship. You may end up getting divorced. But let's say, I don't know, you marry for money and you build a good relationship, right? You build a nice family. You got all, you accomplished what the Torah wanted you to accomplish. Win-win, Dave. ואין אופן היתר לקיום יחסי מין אלא על ידי ייחוד אישה ונישואין איתה בפומבי. Right? So the Torah's way of allowing sexual relationships is yichud isha. What does that mean, yichud isha? You need to designate a woman, right? Vinisuin, and to marry her befumbi, in public. There needs to be publicly known that she is your wife, right? And now nobody else can approach her. If it was enough to just designate a woman, most people would bring a prostitute to their house. I mean, we're being, how do you call it? We're being very, maybe harsh and vulgar by calling them prostitutes. We're bringing like a promiscuous woman to your house, lizman ma hamuskam al shnehem, right, for a certain amount of time, whether it be one night or a week or a year. Vaya adam omer shehi ishto, and the person would say, yeah, she's my wife. All right, if it was enough to just designate, right, a woman by saying she is now mine, and not it being public and not having a contract between them, right, then he'd bring a woman to his house and say she is my wife. Right, so therefore it needs to be based on a contract. There needs to be a contractual agreement between the husband and the wife. And a specific action, right? A legal action or procedure in order for her to be designated as his. And this is what what's new irusin is, getting engaged is. And then marriage is when it becomes, when you have the ceremony, a public ceremony with everyone around. And that's why you need to have a minyan to get married.
So engagement is biblical or
Engagement is biblical.
wait?
When two people today decide to get married and call themselves engaged, that's not the biblical engagement. Biblical engagement today takes place under the chuppah. It's when the man gives his wife a ring and says, "Hareat mikudeshet li b'taba'at zu," right? That is the kiddushin. The kiddushin is the engagement. I guess the average engagement in today lasts like maybe 10 minutes to an hour. Depends how long the rabbi's speech is, right? But that's the engagement period. Actually, when does the marriage actually take effect? Not the Sheva Berachot, the Cheder Yichud. And if there's no Cheder Yichud, then when they go home at night, when they are alone together.
So in the modern sense, when they took a couple say they engage, it's not the
Right, it means they decided to get married. Right, if the woman then goes with someone else, she's not Eshet Ish, right? She didn't break any biblical law. Well, except for maybe Kedusha. And it could be that two people get together, they designate each other as the family cell that they want to build, and their relationship doesn't work out. Right? And their household isn't orderly, they're always fighting. And so
بعد مايك
therefore,
بهدي
sorry? and so therefore they are permitted to divorce, right? It's a mitzvah that I myself did twice, right? Doesn't work out, you get divorced. It's a mitzvah דאורייתא to get divorced. ואילו היו הגירושין מתקיימים באמירה בלבד, או בהוצאתה מביתו, and if divorce was accomplished only by saying you are now hereby divorced, or by kicking her out of the house, right? הייתה אישה תרא אחר היסח דעת ויוצאת וטוענת שנתגרשה. A woman would be able to leave the house, go and find someone else, right? And say, oh no, we already got divorced, right? Same way that a woman gets married, or a man and a woman marry with a contract, there also needs to be a written document saying that they are no longer married, that the marriage has been dissolved.
That one also in public or?
What? There needs to be edim. Doesn't need to be in front of a minyan, but there needs to be edim, and two edim. There needs to be a beit din, right? It's in front of a beit din. Actually, it doesn't really. Today, it's done in front of a beit din. It doesn't have to be in front of a beit din if we're going to the biblical law, right? But there needs to be edim, two witnesses of the girushin. The rabbis instituted that there needs to be two witnesses signed on the get, besides two witnesses witnessing the transfer of the get, giving the man giving the get to the woman.
And
They could be the same edim. That's what they do in rabbinical courts today.
any special requirement for the witness?
No, just like any other witnesses. You don't even have to bring your own witnesses. They have their witnesses there in the Beit Din. או אם היה נואף איתה מישהו, היו היא והנואף טוענים שהיא נתגרשה לפני כן. לכן הצטווינו שגירושין לא יתקיימו אלא על ידי מסמך, right? Divorce can only be done when there's a document proving the divorce, שיעיד על כך. Says וכתב לה ספר כריתות ונתן בידה. He writes a book with ספר כריתות. He writes a document, כריתות meaning that our relationship is dissolved, ונתן בידה, and he hands it to her, ושילחה מביתו, and sent her away from his property, from his house. כיוון שכל נערה בתולה עומדת לנישואין לכל מי שיזדמן, and since any, I'll call it a virgin woman, is available for marriage to anyone that decides to marry her, that she decides to marry, המפתה אותה אינו מתחייב אלא לשאת אותה. Someone who seduces a woman, right? He has to commit, right? If she gets seduced and they sleep together, he is now obligated to marry her. כי הוא ראוי לה יותר, right? She chose to be with him, so okay, so get married. וזה מרפא בלי ספק את שברה יותר מאשר יישא אותה אחר, and this will heal her more than if she then gets married off to someone else. She's actually, especially if you look in the old days where a woman would get married off to people or to someone against her own wish, at least here was someone that she consented to. Right? Someone seduced her, right? She fell in love with him and they had relations. Now he has to marry her. ואם לא תרצה זאת, and if she doesn't want to marry him, he or אביה, her or her father, ישלם את המוהר. The person that seduced her needs to pay the ketubah, as if he married her and divorced her. Right? So this is really a punishment, we'll say, to a person who seduces a woman without marrying her first, right? If she agrees to marry him, then he has to marry her and do a ketubah, and she is now his wife. And if she doesn't want to marry him, there was no chemistry, then he actually has to pay the ketubah, the mohar betulot, the full amount, right? ועל עונשו של האונס נוסף לא יוכל לשלחה כל ימיו. All right. And in addition to that, a person who seduces a woman and then marries her, he could then also divorce her if it doesn't work out. Again, he's going to have to pay the ketubah to do so, right? A person who forces himself on someone, he then has to marry her. Of course, she can say, "I'm not going to marry him." And if they do get married, he cannot divorce her ever. He is forever liable to take care of her needs. ממעשה יהודה אפשר ללמוד מידה טובה וצדק במשפטים, right, from this event of Yehuda and Tamar, right, there's a few things that we can learn. וזאת מדבריו, תיקח לה פן יהיה לבוז, right, ביאור הדבר הוא, let's see, what do I want to get here? So we don't have too much time to go through everything. All right. All right, ביאור הדבר הוא שיחסי מין עם קדשה לפני מתן תורה, right? So what can we learn from this whole situation with Yehuda and Tamar? Before Matan Torah, right, having relations with a prostitute was mutar. The Torah comes and forbids it, right? That means, by the way, for the goyim, it's mutar. So relations with a prostitute before Matan Torah, היו כיחסי מין של אדם עם אשתו אחרי מתן Torah, is equivalent to a man having relations with his wife after Matan Torah. כלומר שזהו מעשה מותר ואינו מאוס כלל, it's completely permissible. ותשלום השכר המוסכם לקדשה and paying the prostitute's fee היה אז כתשלום כתובת אישה להיום בעת הגירושין, is equivalent to paying the woman's ketubah when you divorce her after Matan Torah. Right? So basically, before Matan Torah, before we were obligated to designate the woman that we're going to have build our house with, right? And give her a ketubah. And when we divorce her, we have to pay her the ketubah, right? By the way, what's the whole point of the ketubah? Why do we have to pay a heavy fee to divorce a woman? Prevent them, but if it's not going, then you want them to separate, no? The what? Time loss. What did you say?
Yeah, it says several. It's not one reason alone. It's
There's a financial support. Yep. What does a ketubah really come to do for a woman?
it's a contract.
You have to think all of human history up until like modern days, right? Even in modern days, but especially throughout all of human history, woman had no status. Right? The ketubah is to ensure that she can stand on her own now. But why do you have to have a ketubah? The Chachamim say, "Shelo tiyeh kala be'einav lehotzi'ah." That you don't, it's not easy for you to divorce her, or to send her away. It means you have to give her a substantial amount of money. One, if you're rich, you have to have a high ketubah, because it could be like the standard amount of a ketubah was, okay, what's $100,000? I'm a billionaire, right? What's $100,000? I don't like her. I'll pay her off $100,000. I'll never have to see her again. No, the ketubah is meant, among other things, to make sure that it's not easy to get divorced. Shelo tiyeh kala be'einav lehotzi'ah. By the way, that's why if someone marries the person who forced himself on her, there's no ketubah there, because he can't divorce her. He has to look out for her for the rest of his life.
Isn't the relationship based on the father's income? Well,
The father's income?
yeah.
or
That's for like a different reason. That's because you don't want to lower her status. So if she comes from a rich family, but it's not chovah. There's like a minimum that you need to put, and if you put the minimum, because you're not rich, right? Then that's fine. There's also tosefet ketubah. There's the ikar of ketubah, which everyone needs to have, and tosefet, which goes according to if you're rich, you should have a nice tosefet, and her father will probably negotiate for a better price. Put more in. Why? Because he doesn't want you to, abandon his daughter, and now she's stuck with nothing. Anything? Questions?
Valuation, what's the name?
Evaluate, yeah.
Yeah. Someone comes and does like
It's usually there could be a negotiation between the two sides. I remember my first marriage. I put in a certain amount of the ketubah, just copied it from my parents' ketubah, and then her uncle, who was a rabbi, said, "No, no, no, this isn't enough. You have to put more, right?" And so we doubled it, and then that was fine. It's a negotiation. They're looking out for their daughter, or in this case, his niece, right? Because he was a rabbi, Talmid Chachamim, so he was able to read the ketubah and actually understand it. And so we changed the amount in the ketubah.
inflation.
Inflation. Right, I copied from my parents 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Is this signed before the hookah?
Yeah, because in the chuppah, you come with the ketubah. Usually in the chuppah, it's already signed.
You said the parents of the wife
Yeah.
signed the ketubah.
No, they don't sign the
No,
ketubah.
they are not part of
No, it's only the hatan.
obligation, kind of like.
Yeah, all the obligations are on the hatan in the ketubah.
Only the hatan and the wife.
And two witnesses. The wife isn't signed on the ketubah either.
Who can be the witnesses?
Anybody that's not that you're not related to.
It can be friends.
Yeah, friends.
Let's be observant,
Observant.
Yeah. Oh, they need to be observant, yeah. Shomer Shabbat, yeah. Yireh Shamayim.
Will you repeat what you were saying about the before Matan Torah, after Matan Torah,
Yeah.
regarding the prostitute, something?
Yeah.
Will you repeat that?
Basically, before Matan Torah, right? Any two people meet, they want to copulate, get together, they can do that. The next morning, they want to dissolve their relationship, they can do that, no problem. There's no isur. It's not any two people. Still, there's incest, which is forbidden, also before Matan Torah. But two random people meet up, they get together, they can have have relations and go their own ways the next day. Right? Basically, what does it mean before Matan Torah? It means anyone who's not committed to the Torah can behave this way. Right? If you're not Jewish, you can behave this way. It's fine. All right, let's skip a little bit. Let's go back down to page 2. Asher le'isur ha'arayot. And regarding the arayot. Arayot is mostly incest, right? כל עניינו מכוון להמעטה ביחסי מין ולמאיסה בהם, right? It's in order to, again, curb the natural tendency to sexual relations, ושלא יבוקש מהם אלא מעט ביותר, right? And not it to be easily available to you, right? Because today we see incest as repulsive and disgusting, but why do we see it as so repulsive and disgusting? It's probably because we're conditioned to think of it as repulsive and disgusting because it's forbidden, right? But think about it. If it wasn't forbidden, right? If it wasn't forbidden and we weren't conditioned to think of it as disgusting, right? A household has a husband and the wife, right? And then there's also the grandparents and the uncles, and they all live in same proximity of each other, right? If you go all throughout history, this is how households were. You have many men and women, and many of them are available, right? And because there's no way to there's no way to observe or to no, what's the word, to lefakeh, right, on what's going on. The Torah, to supervise, right? The Torah needs to make it absolutely, it's cut it, right? You could die, you'll be put to death if you're caught, right? And then it becomes something so repugnant and disgusting to us over all these generations of living with this isura arayot, right? That now it's, now we're in a state where obviously you're not going to, sleep with your sister or your aunt, right? It just says that כל העריות מן הנשים כולל עניין אחד, right? All the arayot from the women, you see one thing, except for nida, which is, any woman who's nida, you can sleep with until she goes to the mikveh after her period of nida, right? But all the other arayot is what? שנפוץ מאוד שכל אחת מהן מצויה עם האדם, right? It's very common that these people live in close proximity to each other and live in each other's house, right? Like, think of like a chieftain or tribal master, right? He's got a huge family and he's got all these women who are part of his family that are available. ושופט אינו יכול להוכיח אדם על כך שהוא אצלו. Nobody could say, what is this woman doing in your house? Oh, she's my family. I'm supporting her. כאילו היה דין הערווה כדין כל פנויה, right? And if the araya was, the arayot was just like any other available woman, כלומר שמותר לשאתה, that you can marry her, ושהאיסור היחיד בה הוא שאינה אשתו, and the only problem with having relations with her is that you haven't designated her and given her a ketubah, היו רוב בני אדם נכשלים בזנות איתן תמיד. So many people would then have relations with them. But this that we see now is so repugnant is because these mitzvot conditioned us to think of incest as so disgusting and repugnant. All right, okay. קבוצה זו כוללת גם איסור להשחית איברי המין של כל זכר מבעלי החיים. Right, this category of mitzvot also includes the transgression where it's forbidden to what's the lesares? What do you say lesares? I'm losing all my English words today. to
Like
cut off the genitals
dog,
of any living creature. Right? People get the dogs or cats and they don't want them to procreate, so they take them to the vet, and the vet cuts off a little bit more than the Brit Milah, and now we can no longer procreate. Castrate, right? He castrates them. It's asur to castrate animals, humans or otherwise. Any living creature, it's forbidden to castrate them. על פי העיקרון של חוקים ומשפטים צדיקים. What's that?
By Jewish law.
Yeah.
Dogs. And he cuts.
It's transgressing Jewish law.
It's transpassing. It's like he's go.
It's like doing Hilul Shabbat.
Forbidden.
It's forbidden. Yeah, it's forbidden. What's that?
White people who are like observant tend to not have animals.
It could be. Some of them, they try to find a loophole, which I think is disgusting. But what they do is they sell their dog to a goy for the castration and then buy it back. Right? It's just like all these other ridiculous loopholes. If you want to not do the Torah, don't do the Torah. Don't try to fool God.
So in the city,
Huh?
this in the municipality, they said the stray cat, you need to take them to the castration. This is not.
It's asur.
Oh, but they doing it.
It's not asur to kill it. It's asur to castrate it.
What about breed? Have you breeds to an animal?
It's just the foreskin. It's not gonna castrate it. It's not gonna solve your problem.
Right?
What's that?
It's now,
There's no, don't look for a way around it. It's asur, it's asur. זהו, נגמר הסיפור. Huh? You shouldn't just go around killing animals. I don't know. But if you have this infestation, I don't know. If you have rats in your house, you're not going to put traps and you're not going to try to fumigate. There's no isur to fumigate. But you can't catch a rat, cut off his balls, and let it go back, right?
but you can kill a cockroach.
And you can kill a cockroach, but you can't castrate it.
Especially if it's a problem.
Sorry, if you have an animal, a dog,
Yeah,
it's a male dog,
yeah.
do you obligated to make a breed for him?
No,
No,
no, he's patur.
but to
Your dog is patur. כוונתי לאיזונם של כל הדברים, right? So the Torah wants a balance between things. There's no forbidding relations completely, but there's no, how do you call it? Don't be promiscuous. It says even with the animals. So the Torah wants peru urvu. He wants the animal kingdom and humans along with them, and the Jewish people also, to be able to procreate, right? And settle the entire earth. So there's no castration, and he wants us to settle the earth with just society. So there's no promiscuity either, because that is what rots society from within. All right, so let's see. What are the mitzvot? Sefer Kedusha, we have Ilchot Isurei Biyah. The halachot of forbidden relations, we're at the end of page 2. יש בכללן 37 מצוות, 37 מצוות in this, in הלכות איסורי ביאה. In the book of Nashim, right, we have הלכות אישות, 4 מצוות, הלכות ייבום וחליסה, 3 מצוות, which are actually already discussed in the previous category, הלכות נערה בתולה, right, another 5 מצוות, הלכות סוטה, another 3 מצוות, altogether 17 מצוות. With the previous, we're talking about 54 mitzvot that have to do with this 14th category of mitzvot. Now let's see. Mitzvah Resh Yud Bet, 212, right? Page 3. Ushesivanu lifrot velirbot. We have a mitzvah to procreate. Every man, women are exempt. Every man has a mitzvah to bring children to the world. Lechaven lekiyum amin, right, in order to sustain the species. Ve'mitzvat priya v'rivya. V'hu omro yit'aleh ve'atem peru urvu. And this is what the Torah says, and you shall procreate. Ukvar be'aru shehatan patur mikriyat shema ksheisa betula. So how do we know that this is a mitzvah? It says atem peru urvu is in Genesis. It's also written like a beracha, right? How do we know that we have a mitzvah to procreate if Genesis is before Matan Torah? It says that the Hatan is exempt from Kriyat Shema, right? Someone, when he gets married, he's a Hatan, he's now doesn't participate in the minyan with us. Why? What? Yeah, it's also in Berachot, right? Ksheisa betula mipnei shu asuk b'mitzvah. Because he is now focused on the mitzvah. What is the mitzvah? The mitzvah of getting married for procreation, meaning if he's patur mina mitzvah, because he is doing a mitzvah, it means that procreation is a mitzvah. That's how we know, even though Peru Urvu is in Genesis before Matan Torah, that it's one of the 613 mitzvot. And this mitzvah, the women are exempt from. All right, and mitzvah 213, Reshut Gimel, Shesivanu Liv'ol Bekidushin. Liv'ol means to have relations only through Kiddushin. Once you designate a woman, Vilatet Davar Beyada Isha, and to give the woman something in her hand, or bishtar, either a contract, or bebi'ah, or by bringing her into your house and having relations with her. V'zohi misvat kiddushin. V'aremez alav ki yikach ish isha uv'ala. Right? The Torah says a man should take a woman and ba'ala is to have relations with her, but also means to now become her husband. Right? What's that?
Sing to Reshet Chai every Friday night.
Sing to that's nice, but let's focus. That's not what makes you her husband. So what does this pasuk say? It says that you now became her husband through bi'ah. What is bi'ah? Through relations. It says when you divorce a woman, it says v'yatse'ah, and she goes out, v'hayyeta, and she will be available for someone else, right? It's the same way as when a woman gets divorced, she goes out with a document. So too, when she becomes a person's wife, she needs to have a document. So here we learn bi'ah and shetar, right? And also we learned that she can do kiddushin with kesef. Me'omro be'ama ivriya and kesef, right? When a shivha, a woman slave, right? She goes out without money. It says la'adon zeh. It says to this master. Why is it saying en kesef? It says to this master is without kesef. Aval yesh kesef la'adon acher. Right, but to a different master, then he does have to pay umanu, and who is that? Of the father. Right, the father is right. So it means when you acquire a woman, right, she's coming from her father's reshut into your reshut. You need to do kiddushin with something that has some sort of monetary value. All right, aval kiddushin deoraita omnam hem. All right, so this is the mitzvah of getting married. The mitzvah of getting married is basically there's two mitzvot here. There's a mitzvah to procreate. However, relations with a woman is forbidden unless you designated her as your wife, bekidushin, and so we have the mitzvah also of kiddushin. So there's two mitzvot here. All right, there's a whole, as we saw, there's actually 54 mitzvot considering this category, but this is what we're going to look at for now. Now, let's see, we don't have much time left, so let's skip the halachot. Let's go to Bereshit. What is man and what is woman? Huh? Says Vayikach Adonai Elohim et ha'adam vaynicheu began Eden. Right? God took the man and he put him in Gan Eden le'ovda u'shumra. Right? To work it and to preserve it. Huh? Bereshit bet. Vaysav Adonai Elohim al ha'adam lemor. He says, he commanded the Adam, you can eat from all the trees of the garden, but from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you shall not eat from. Right? What is this knowledge? What is this tree of knowledge? Right? We've discussed it previously once. We're going to discuss it from a different aspect here. Vayomer Adonai Elohim lo tov heyot ha'adam levado. It says it's not good for man that he is alone. I shall make him an aid, a helper opposing him. Ezer kenegdo. All right. So what does God do? Vayitzer Adonai Elohim min ha'adama. And then God created from the earth kol hayat as-sadeh, all the animals, all the beasts of the field, v'chol of hashamayim, and all the, all the fowl of the sky. This is for what? In order to make an ezer kenegdo, right? Vayavena Adam, nirot ma yikra lo, and he brought it before man to see what he calls it. V'chol asher yikra lo Adam, nefesh chaya u'shemo, whatever he called it, that became the distinction of that thing, the nefesh. Vayikra Adam shemot lechol habehema u'lof hashamayim, and he called names to all the animals. U'chol chayat hasadeh u'la'adam lo matza ezer kenegdo. But this didn't really fulfill that, how do you call it, what he needed. Right? He still didn't find this helper. So, Vayapel Adonai Elohim tardeman ha'adam. So God put Adam or man to sleep. Al ha'adam, by his, doesn't call him Adam by his name, calls him ha'adam, the human. Right? The man. Vayishan, and he slept. Vayikach achat misal'otav, and he took one of his ribs, what is it, selah? Apart, he says a rib. What is selah hamishkan? The side. The standard translation, I think, is rib, but that is only one possible translation of what selah is. Achat misal'otav, he took one of his sides, vayizgor basar tahtena, right, and he enclosed it with flesh, right? He didn't take a rib and construct an entire body out of it. He says he took one of his sides and sealed the flesh behind it. Vayizgor basar tahtena. Where are we? All right. Vayiven Adonai Elohim et hasela asher lakach min ha'adam leisha, right? And he turned it into a woman. Vayivia el ha'adam. And then he recognizes this woman, Vayomer ha'adam, and the man said, the human said, this time zot ha'pa'am, because previously, right, with all the animals of the day, it didn't match what I needed, right? But this time, says zot ha'pa'am, etzem ha'asamai, right? It's flesh of my flesh, bone of my bone. Lizot yikare isha. To this I will call a woman isha, ki meish lukahazot, because it was taken from man, right? So ha'adam is really, it's two things. It's ish and isha. All right. In Tehillim, David HaMelech says, Ahor v'kedem sartani. It says, you created me front and back. And from here the Hachamim learn, right, that man originally was two-faced, right? There was man here and woman here. They're like back to back. He says he had a problem. He had no company. So God brought all the animals and he's talking to the dog, he's talking to the cat, and it's just, they don't know how to talk back. So what does God say? I'm going to make Ezer Kenegdo. Right now it's Gavil Gav. I'm going to split them and I'll put them face to face. Right? That's what Ezer Kenegdo means. In front of him and not behind him.
Conversando com a Mirella, ela falou, ó, o que ela me contou. Ela contou que ela foi
Someone needs to be muted. Moshe.
para fazer. Ela fez a primeira vez que ela tirou o primeiro nódulo dela, que ela começou a tomar medicamento, depois de 4.
There we go.
No, it's Italian, right?
All right, so that's Ezer Kenegdo. And we see afterwards, he says that he created, right, the man, Zacharun Vayikra et Shemam, and he called them Adam. This is what Adam is.
One question. The man was created together.
Yeah, man and woman are one being.
Right. It can't. One. You know what? This is be honest. When I was like 10 years old, I dreamed one person, the lady was with the face and the back and the man in front, and I said, what I mean the dream, but it's long time ago. After when I come to you, I said, it's here.
Now let's see what happens when this relation is corrupted. Right? What was the het Adam Harishon?
His blood. Adam, his blood.
What blood?
His own blood.
No, but what was the het? What was, according to the story in Gan Eden?
The snake.
What was the snake caused it? But what was the actual transgression? Look at something. Before we go into where he actually transgressed, look at this. It says, Adam yada. Look at we're on page 4, right? Look at Adam after the first paragraph. It says, Adam yada id hava ishto. We're skipping after. This is after the story. chapter 3, I think now. Right? V'adam yada et Chava ishto, and Adam knew Eve, his wife, v'tahar v'teled et Cain, right? And then she got pregnant and she gave birth to Cain. And now skipping, vayeda Cain et ishto, right? When Cain has children, it says vayeda Cain et ishto. When Adam has his next child, Shet, right? It says vayeda Adam od et ishto. But the first time with Cain, it says v'ha'adam yada. What's the difference? By the way, all throughout Tanakh, it's vayeda, right? It's vayeda, vayeda, vayeda. The first time with Adam, where he gives birth to Cain, it says v'ha'adam yada et Chava ishto. What's the difference? Vayeda means and he knew. V'ha'adam yada means like in the past he knew. When was in the past? Well, look at what it says. Right? Vatipakachna einei shenehem. When they ate from the fruit, their eyes opened up. Vatipakachna einei shenehem. Vayedeu. Ki erumim hem. And they knew.
Them, in plural.
It says vayedeu, yeah. But how would you translate this? Vayedeu ki erumim hem. How do you translate this?
Vayedeu,
Yeah.
and they knew
Yeah, ki erumim hem.
because they're naked.
Right. Exactly. Because they were naked.
That's it.
What is vayedeu ki erumim hem? The standard translation is what? And they knew, they opened their eyes and they saw that they were naked. It says no. It's not that they saw that they were naked. It says vayedeu ki erumim hem. There's a ta'am of sik. It's vayedeu, comma. It's a stop, full stop over there. Vayedeu, right? Has zakef katon. Ki erumim hem. Because they were naked. They were aroused by each other's nakedness, and that's why they had relations. If you look, it says, Ki ta'avahu la'inaim. It says they were aroused by the fruit. By the way, this is why the Chachamim say most likely the fruit was like grapes or wine, maybe it's a glass of wine, something that causes them to be aroused. Right? It says, Vayedeu, not for Piriya Verivya, which God commanded, Ki eru, only because they were aroused by their nakedness.
Vayeda, it's singular, right?
Vayeda,
Vayeda.
yeah. Yeah, but here Vayedeu is that they knew. What does it mean they knew? They knew each other only because of their nakedness. Now what happens? It says Vayitim ki Elohim, and you should be like Elohim. What is Elohim? Elohim is a leader. It's not God. You should be a leader, a supreme leader, right? It says Vayiru b'nei Elohim et benot Adam ki tovot hena. And what happens after that? Right? The people, the sons of the Elohim, of the masters, of the politicians, they see the daughters of Adam, that they are very beautiful. And they started taking women for themselves as they saw fit, as they pleased. Right? No kiddushin, no. This is the beginning of, we call it sexual corruption. And what happens afterwards as a result? Says God, says Vayara Adonai ki rabba Adam. He says the inequities of man are tremendous. Ba'aretz, in the land, kol yeser machshavot libo. All he's thinking about the rak kol hayom. What's he thinking about all the time? Well, that's what he's thinking about. Women. All man is thinking about is women, right? And they're destroying society. And then God says, I'm going to wipe out man and bring the Mabul, right? Ki hishchit kol basar et darko al haaretz. Because all the flesh, all living beings, the Hachamim say, not even just humans. This is all living creatures. They corrupted their ways on the earth. What does that mean, corrupted their ways? Darko al haaretz. What does that sound like? Darko al haaretz. Derech Eretz. What is Derech Eretz? Morality, ethics, but in the simplest term, it says Zu Perishu Derech Eretz. We say in the Haggadah when the says Vaya'anunu, that the Egyptians they they tortured us. What does it mean, tortured us? It says, Zu perishut derech eretz, that they prevented us from having relations with each other. It says, Ki yishchit kol basar et darko al haaretz. This is all of humanity, and according to the Chachamim, also all the creatures started having bad relations.
That's why Moses brought blood of Egypt.
Why?
I think so, no?
No, this is the Mabul, Noah.
Yes, but you talked about, you reminded actually as it can be ashva, comparison for Adam and Eve, and afterwards what how it's been reflected on the Egyptians because of what they did through the blood of the Jews.
Okay, well, the Egyptians, where it says Kimaseretz Misraim, right? Kimaseretz Misraim lo ta'asu. This is don't do like the actions of Egypt. And the Hakamim say, what are the actions of Egypt? Ish no se ish, isha no set isha. Man marries man, woman marries woman. Says these are the inequities of Egypt. What this all comes to do, right? Even today with the woke and the LGBTQ, I don't know, whatever. I don't remember all the letters anymore. They come to do one thing: is to dissolve the family, the core family structure, and what that comes to do is to dissolve all of society. Like queers for Palestine, there's nothing more suicidal than that. And that's exactly what all this woke movement is coming to do, is just to dissolve society. It says this is hishchit kol basar darko al haaretz. Right? And the Torah, this 14th category of the mitzvot, comes to teach us how to, what we call taharat mishpacha, the purity of the family. That's the cornerstone of a prosperous society, right? Where people have families. Everyone who's born isn't just born haphazardly to a prostitute, but they know who their mother is, they know who their father is, right? They live in a society where they have fathers who civilize them, right? And not fatherless societies, which very, very quickly break down into lawless societies. And that's the 14th category of mitzvot, and there's more to study, but we have to end here for today. And that's the last category of mitzvot. Next week, Be'ezrat Hashem, we have one last class before the break. We'll have like a little summary of this course.
You read the bell curve?
Huh?
Bell curve? The bell curve, have you read that book?
No. Oh, the bell curve? No. What's the hidush in the book?
IQ, but could it come from IQ? Like, for example, like fatherless societies could like reduce, like lower down the IQ.
It could be that it impacts IQ. I'm not familiar with any research